Hey, welcome to another episode of the Black Guy Who Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
And we are live on a Saturday morning, ready to do some feedback. That's when you have your voices heard. You have said things to us after we said things to the world, and some of you decided, you know what? I'm going to chime in on this. I want to respond. I got something to say, and we're going to let you say it to us. The official weapon of the show is the folding chair, and the unofficial sport bullet ball extreme. The first people we like to shout out, though, because we're going to get to your comments on our website, your emails, your voicemails, your YouTube comments, all of that stuff, the votes in the polls. But there are special people who just want to see us win, and they go to our website, theblackguywhotips.com. They look on the right-hand side, and they donate money to us. If they're on the phone, they turn their phone sideways so they can do it. And when we get this money, we turn around and we give them a shout-out. You know, that's all they get is just some love back from us, and it's very much appreciated. So we're about to do some appreciation for y'all real quick.
May I have your attention? You are now listening to Charlotte's own Rod and Karen. We welcome the good folks who Tithe to the Black Guy Who Tips.
Today's a new day. That's right. New dough, new hellos. Corey B. Jonathan H. Geoff M. Joffrey M. Marvin B. Mako W. Miko F. Early Daisy Photography, J Full, Michael W, Asia D, yes, Asia D, Chriselle B, Don G, David from Brooklyn, Tom W Jr, Michael S, Dana R, Julian N, Laura E, Bomani Jones of the Right Time with Bomani Jones, and Noel W. That's everybody. Appreciate y'all for showing your homies some love and some money. We also have 5-star reviews this week, so no extra commercial break.
Yay!
We love to see it.
We
have
do.
A lot of 5-star reviews. I feel like the extra commercial break must have put the fear of God in y'all.
Was like, you know what?
Some of y'all really do not like that.
Bullshit.
We got 7 5-star reviews.
Oh, let's go.
The first one is called "Everyone Review This Show" from Bill Hamilton Esquire. 5 stars.
Come on, Esquire.
Okay, we see it. I've been with the Black Guy Who Tips since 2015. They were my first podcast, so I always hold them near and dear to me. Even though I'm premium, I still listen through Apple Podcasts. I'm admittedly here to minimize the ads and plan on updating periodically, hoping other listeners join me.
Yay!
I'm working on that, guys. Okay, I'm gonna figure something out with this premium thing for y'all.
We are.
5 stars. Finally got an iPhone S5. More stars. iPhone. So 5 more stars since Stitcher shut down. Love the show. Karen is the best. Rod is okay. Just kidding. But sugar goes on grits. No, you're not kidding. You're a heathen from the pit of hell, and we both know it. Just doing my part, trying to stop the commercials. Also, week of no 5-star review, and now we are at war with Iran. Coincidence? I think not. Exactly. It's not too woke for him, DJ 936.
Right.
Okay, you right on point with that. I appreciate your analysis. No better, says Cheese and Mac. Rod and Karen, your show just keeps getting more better and better. I love the style and format. Thanks for the hard work and you put into the 5-star content. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite Noop says the Black Guy Who Tips is not the GOAT of podcasts. The podcast is addictive, but only if you tend to think for yourself, have a reasonable understanding of the world, and sense of humor. Rod and Karen offer a beautiful mix of pop culture, politics, and whatever else is going on. They have been in the podcast game for years and experienced shows. The Black Guy Who Tips is not the GOAT of podcasts, but they are God mode and a GOAT to a God is nothing but a sacrifice. Thank you, buddy. I was wondering where you were going with not the GOAT. I was like, wait, are we not the greatest of all time? This is an interesting compliment. But I see what you're saying.
Thank you.
We the gods of this podcast thing. Because Rod said so, says Cat B from DC. Best podcast out there. Love it. 5 stars. Thank you.
Thank you. It ain't got to be long, y'all.
Updating because I don't want Karen talking bad about me, says K-Po Jax. Rod and Karen do a great job of keeping you updated on happenings in all sorts of news. Karen is hilarious and brings great perspective. While for all the overthinkers out there, Rod is great at breaking down news, pop culture topics. You think you might that you're crazy for having a dissenting opinion from the masses. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Sometimes I make the podcast that I wish was here for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that too, because Roger gets on me periodically about this, but I'm much better at accepting the fact that I am funny, because when I think of like funny and comedians, I'm not trying funny. I always think of other people, and I go, well, yeah, I tell like funny shit every now and then, but I sat down and thought about it. I was like, you know what, you is funny. Accept it.
Yeah, you are. I don't know, I guess everyone has their own cross to bear, but yeah, you are not you're very funny. I think a lot of people tell you that. It's one of the best things about 5-star reviews is that you get these like confirmations or these like thoughtful things to be like, yeah, big up yourself a little bit. Put this on your what do you call those things that we have in the bathroom? Journal, not journal.
Vision boards.
Put this on your vision board.
Yeah.
You're good. 5 stars.
Yeah, I like that. I've added some more stuff to it. I was thinking about maybe possibly getting a larger one, but I do like kind of putting stuff on there, reminding myself of of things and events that kind of have happened and things like that. Is a very positive and affirmation, like for me when I look at it.
Yeah. All right. So then we get a 5-star review from Miss Barnes. The perfect podcast. Hello, I'm doing my due diligence and re-upping my 5-star review. Love, Miss Barnes. And then she has below her old 5-star reviews. So she keeping a journal. Like it's like every time she's done it. So we appreciate you for the 5-star update.
Yeah, go ahead and update. And a lot of y'all know it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. So thank you. All right, y'all. That's it for the 5-star review portion.
Thank you.
Now let's get into the actual, show y'all's comments on our different episodes that we had. And notice, no commercial break. We're getting right into it.
Get right into it.
The first episode of the week was 3,117 Costco's. We had 4 comments. Rona Raphael says, what about having your own podcast app instead of Patreon or both? Due to the volume of content that you got, that might just be the best and easiest anyone going premium. And Ken Watanabe voice, let them commit. I don't know how to make a podcast app out of all the podcasts we've ever done. I'm sure there's some person I would have to contact and figure that one out. And figure out how much that cost and all that stuff. It's definitely an idea. I started looking at the Patreon this week to see like what would I do if I was gonna put some stuff over there. And Karen had an idea of making it tiered, so you have like the Just the Tip where you get 1 extra episode a week, and then all the way up to like hey, this is the full like $15 thing here. Patreon isn't as expensive as I thought it was, because I thought they were taking a higher percentage than they are, but it's still a higher percentage than like PayPal or whatever when we just get our money directly from y'all, and it's like they take 2% or some shit. But it's business things to think about there and how we're going to figure it out. But we may do something with Patreon. I don't even know where to begin with the app thing, so I would really need to reach out to somebody that knows something about that before I could even tell y'all like, we got an app now, because I know that comes with its own expenses and headaches and maintenance and all that type of stuff for it. Appia says, congrats on the first comment, Rona Raphael. With this attitude, the book will be written in no time. Well, maybe he's just procrastinating from writing the book.
Come on.
I'm so glad that businesses in Germany don't really tell you about their politics, and also political campaigns are financed in a different way. So it's not about big donations. The way I don't have to boycott anyone for political reasons, I'm so thankful because it seems hard when done consistently. Political merch is also not a thing or signs in front of yards or cars. I hope it will never change. I vote every time for the most sane people, so I do my part, and I don't need to know what neighbors support crazy people, so I have to be annoyed every time I see them. Yeah, I think it also depends on the politics of your country. Like, how divided are your parties? How different is, like, the different factions? I understand y'all actually have y'all have more parties than us. So maybe you and your neighbors would have slighter degrees of variance compared to America, where there's essentially two parties, and then there's a bunch of people that are dissatisfied, and for whatever reasons, a bunch of different reasons, that either don't vote third party or whatever. But for the most part, just you align on one or two things, and I think it makes it pretty simple for me to be like, okay, if you're down with this shit, you're not able to be a good person in my eyes, because you're watching what's happening and you're going, either A, I don't care, I'm going to continue to support the people that do these things,
right?
Or you want those things to happen. And I mean, there's really not much in between for me, so I'm perfectly fine being like, okay, my neighbor votes this way, that just means I don't fuck with them. I don't feel like I'm losing anything out of that equation. If anything, hopefully I'm preventing some level of access and possible harm that would come to me from somebody that truly could give a fuck about my humanity and the people who look like me and all of this stuff at the end of the day. And at best, what am I hoping? That they think I'm one of the good ones, that I'm the exception to the rule of what they generally think about the people like me. I don't really see that as a positive thing.
Right.
So
I don't want to be your exception.
Yeah. So I personally kind of would like to know how my neighbors and people get down. I'm not prying, but it's more like a, but I think that's the reality of our country. I don't know that it's like that everywhere.
Agreed.
Let's see. EVE says, I don't mind original ideas for movies, but nothing is really new under the sun. I just want to be entertained. A movie can have 15 sequels as long as they're entertaining. That's why they made so many Sharknado movies. Okay. I don't know if Sharknado's the example, but yeah.
I enjoyed all them bad Sharknado movies. They didn't come to the theaters though. I think they all was on TV, but I get your gist.
I honestly had no interest in the new Superman movie because the Snyderverse was ass, but after seeing the trailer, you know what sold me? Crypto. I'm a sucker for fun stuff like that and dogs, and I was happy to see the actor who played Mr. Terrific get the shine he deserves. I'm not familiar with his comic book character, but I'm glad to see that actor because I'm still bitter that they killed him off at X-Men First Class. How do you kill the one mutant who can't be killed? That was racist as hell. Yeah.
And I get what you're saying, but my thing is when it comes to James Gunn and the work he's done in the past, he has done great work. It's not like they rehired Snyder. So for me, I was like, okay, I trust you. And then, like you said, when you see the previews, particularly, I agree with you. When we seen the dog, Crypto, I was like, oh, y'all going all in. That's when I was like, okay, like you actually care about the material. and so I'm like, let's go, so I appreciate it. And so I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good movie. That's my kind of prediction. I think it's going to be a good movie, so I'm looking forward to it.
Miss Barnes says, speaking of Hokas, for the summer I purchased a pair of Hoka Auras, which is their flip-flop, and all I got to say are clouds, walking on clouds. When I ordered them, I made an appointment for my pedicure and with the gel polish, so my toes shall look super cute with my new Hokas.
Come on, I didn't know they did flip-flops. I might have to go get my mama some of them.
Yep. I didn't know they did them either. I'm sure I walked past them and just weren't thinking about it, but yep, dope. And then YouTube, we had a couple comments on this episode. Let me pull them up. It was Costco's. We had 7 comments. Okay, let's see what we got here. Leonardo says first comment. All right. Brief says one day I'll be caught up. Today isn't that day, but I skipped ahead to listen to the most recent episode. Dark Ninja, winky face emojis, and said he also says, or they also say, no matter what side of the gas fill is on, people will still pull into the pumps on the wrong side. That's true.
Right, because most people are like, I just trying to pump gas. They're like, who gives a fuck about what side?
Yep. I thought my PC went bad. Someone said, I don't know what happened. Such a great episode as always. Inez says, I love your commercial. The best heart podcast of my day. Thank you, everybody who left comments on the YouTube there. The poll was, would you be interested in the Blackout Tips Premium Patreon as described in the episode? 57% said no. 43% said yes, which honestly is a high percentage. I think that's very high. Like, because I assume some of y'all already have premium. You're like, I'm good. Some of y'all like, I would never plan on going to premium anyway, right. So it doesn't matter to me. But the fact that there is some interest means, I will continue to look into it, and maybe we'll see if we can figure out some way to add that to what we do. Especially if it makes it easier for y'all as listeners to deal with that. All right, so that was it for that episode. Let's get into a little bit of music. So we will put a commercial at this point, and then we'll come right back. Boom. I was a little bit distracted because I was tweeting last night about I forget what I saw, but I saw something that was like I think it was the Supreme Court been ruling for Trump just hypocritically, just straight. They ruled against Biden and said everything was overstretching the powers of the president. He didn't have the power to do any of that. He didn't have the power to even say you couldn't pay, like, don't pay these student loans, we're going to forgive them. So they say he didn't have power. And I'm sorry, this is not feedback, this is just a different thing. But it's on my mind, it's distracting me during the show, so I was like, fuck it. And so I made a thread that was because I saw Rashida Tlaib. She one of the squad members who I think either didn't endorse Kamala or like some shit over like Palestine or whatnot. And so she had tweeted something about how Democrats need to run on packing the courts and all this shit. And I'm like, they did run on that. And it reminds me of so many other things that they say, like, why didn't Kamala talk about the economy? She spent too much time talking about blank, and all of it's just stuff that if you paid attention,
it's not true. If
you were tapped in, it's just demonstrably false.
Yes.
Right? I know people to this day that are like, she talked too much about trans issues. She didn't talk about them pretty much at all.
That was Trump running that shit.
Trump ran attack ads about trans people.
Yes.
And people just accepted his narrative that, these Democrats, they, I know guys who keep saying that the reason they lost is because you can't say the R word and the F word, and you can't make jokes about race anymore. None of that stuff is stuff Kamala Harris campaigned on.
Right.
None of it. Like, not one speech. And so my point in my thread I made last night was, it must be incredibly frustrating to be a Democrat politician. Not because you're losing or any of that shit, but it must be frustrating to do things and then have people tell you didn't do the things because they just don't feel like you did the thing. No matter how much proof and evidence that they are actually the ones who are wrong.
Yes.
And that if they paid more attention, they'd see you did do this.
If they paid more attention.
And I think I ended it by saying, it feels like we live in different realities now, and that is probably the biggest hindrance to just our fixing or making America better or anything. Like, it's just, if you live in, and it's not just 2 different realities, it's like 20 million, it's like however many people, different realities, right?
Everybody has their own reality. Yes.
And so anyway, I say all this to share, like, the reason I got distracted is, like, right before we got on the air, somebody had replied back, somebody that I know them as, they okay, I think I've had them muted because they said annoying things, but not muted it, not blocked, not right. Whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's a person that I follow that I'm, so I wouldn't follow them if I thought they just weren't worth engaging.
Agreed.
But they had, like, quote tweeted my thing and was like, Democrats just are bad at messaging, blah blah blah. And the thing, it was literally just like the opposite of what I was saying, and I said that's fine. But I replied back to him, I was like, how old are you? And I meant this genuinely. This was not a pejorative, this is not dismissive, this wasn't
matters.
Shut your young ass up. It wasn't that. It was just, before I even get ready to start engaging, I wanted to know, am I talking to somebody around my age? Or maybe, like, because when I was younger, I felt differently. Like, when I was younger, I definitely felt like, well, why don't people get the message that maybe the messenger is not doing a good job? But now I'm 47 and I've seen enough life to know, like, oh, sometimes people don't want to get your message and it's not you.
Right, and there's nothing you could do to make them get the message if they determine that they don't want to hear it.
And it's so ironic that you say that, right? Because it became illustrative of that. Like, meaning this I can't even call it a conversation. I said to the person, like, how old are you? And they said, nothing comes good from this question. Y'all be safe. And I was like, hey, I didn't dismiss you. I really just wanted to know. They said, I'm 44, worked on some elections since 2005. I'm like, cool. Like, okay, well, now we know we're dealing with the same age. I said, cool, because I thought maybe it could be an age difference, but it's not. I do disagree with your, like, the way you framed it. But, that, like, essentially, I said, okay, I don't know why you take that from me. I didn't disrespect you. My response about your age wasn't dismissive or pejorative. But this is a great reminder that Twitter is a bad place to try to have these conversations. So I'm moving on. My bad for engaging. And, once again, it wasn't shut your young ass up. I said, I disagree. Just wondering, I disagree and wondered if it could be an age thing, but we're about the same age. I think there's still too much slack being cut to the voters in your analysis, but I think what you said is a common point of view. I don't feel like I'm saying anything disrespectful to the person or anything like that. And so the reply was, you follow me for a while, asking my age in response to that post has nothing to do with the topic. In my experience, that rarely comes from a sincere place. Me saying I don't like this energy isn't disrespectful. It's saying, why you come at me like that? I said, go back and reread what I said. But this is what I'm saying. We can't share the same reality. In your world, I'm insulting you. In mine, yeah. I'm just literally asking a question that to find out if we're even, like, if there's a generational divide, and it's like, you're being dismissive, but hey, and I'm like, this is it. This is what I'm talking about. I can't, like, you're illustrating the point. I'm a great communicator.
Yes, you are.
I've made a lot of money because I'm a better communicator than the vast majority of people. That's not an ego thing. Mm-mm. That's just facts. Mm-hmm. I've written on TV shows because I know how to communicate. I'm great at writing. I'm great at speaking. I'm great at social media. I'm nobody compared to, like, I'm not famous and people follow me on social media because I'm famous. They follow me on social media because they think, oh, this guy conveys his thoughts in a unique or fun way, right? So I don't think the problem's me and my messaging. I didn't go, shut your young ass up. I went, hey man, so how old are you? Which I would have said if we were in person in each other's face.
Right.
If you said to me, like, well, I think it's this, I can't tell your age from talking, because there's a level of honestly what's funny is there's a level of not dismissing this, but of empathy that I would display for a younger person. Mm-hmm. This person don't know me, so they really can't understand and relate. But if you were to tell me, like, hey, I'm 30, there's a level of, like, oh, okay, yes. When I was 30, I thought some of the same shit. And like maybe you're right. Maybe there's a way they could be a better communicator. But at 47 and you're 30, I'm not gonna like jump in your shit. I think there's a lot of hope you should have at 30. I think it's good to believe that it's like there's a message that can reach people. I'm older and cynical. I believe it's not that problem, but it's just interesting that it became a microcosm of that conversation of like, hey, it's the messenger is the one that's at fault here. And I'm like, but what do you do when someone won't accept your message? So what I mean is, you won't accept that my question about age wasn't a fuck you question. You won't accept it. There's no scenario you could even imagine that I wasn't saying fuck you in your mind, because you made your mind up.
Right.
So when you say, well, a lot of people don't know Obamacare is the Affordable Care Act, and 30% of the people don't know that. That's the Democrats' fault. And I go, what do you do when if I say the word Obamacare, you go, that's a fuck you. And there's just nothing I can do that can change your mind. What do you do? I can say it nice. I can brag. I can say it quiet. I can say, oh, actually, it's the Affordable Care Act. I can say whatever I can say, because it's not like these decisions were made in a vacuum, right? The decision to call it the Affordable Care Act came from people rejecting the Obamacare label and saying, I don't want it if it's Obamacare. So this wasn't a decision Democrats made and then it backfired. It was a, hey guys, y'all want Obamacare? Fuck no, I don't want that nigger's health care. Okay. Y'all want Affordable Care Act? Yes. People go get it, sign up for it, it saves their lives, and then they go, I didn't know it was the same thing. Did you not know it was the same thing, or could we not tell you it was that, or you wouldn't have wanted it? You know what I'm saying? Like that's a messenger fault, or that's your fault. Because, and this is an example that will be true 100% of the time with all these people, including this person responding to me. Every single time they're explaining something like this, Karen, they're never the person that don't understand. So you understand, which means we're all capable of understanding. It wasn't complicated. Everybody who ever does the Democrat shit understands what the Democrats are trying to do. They never are confused and be like, I actually don't know the difference between the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, and I think that's the Democrats' fault because I follow this stuff. And no, they're like, I do know the difference, but these other people don't. And my point will always be, those other people in lots of cases just don't want to know because they got their own biases and fucked up shit. They're getting their news from Fox News. They're never coming back to Democrats or CNN or whoever is the explainer. They're never listening to the president explain it to them. You still think these people are magical, and that these Democrats, these politicians are supposed to be magical and breach these biases that exist and have existed long before them. And instead we just end up here because we refuse to acknowledge 30% of the country is either ignorant, bigoted, or they want the negative shit. Like, so it's not 30% of people don't know Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act are the same. It's 30 because we all could know it. 30% of people want to be ignorant in this country. Just the same thing with Trump putting his name on checks. If there's people that tell you, I thought them checks was from Trump, they just want to believe that. I've watched people be informed and then go back and not just act like they never happened. It's the Joe Rogan effect. Is today you told me some new information. Did I absorb it? And now next time I'll go, I remember? No. Tomorrow I'm back to a blank slate like it's a Simpsons episode. So I say, I'm sorry I got distracted during the show, but I just had to get that off my chest because I'm like, damn, this is crazy. We exist like this. And obviously, you know, it's weird to have it happen right before the show, and it was on my mind, so it was distracting. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. And I think for me, because I am similar to you, there's certain things I'm cynical, and when we've said this before, and I will say this again, people that spend enough time online arguing and debating and things like that with people and interacting with people, not trying to funny, no matter what the platform is, a lot of times these conversations, these very heavy, very intellectual, very, not trying to be funny, high-minded conversations, a lot of times end up being simplified, and they end up being simplified on social media to make it easy to dismiss, to make it easy to prove your point. Everybody is a brand. Everybody is interacting for their own audience,
Yes.
and not trying to be funny, and they're dancing for their followers and for other people to start following them. This is just me when I start looking at it. And so for me,
and I've tried, and the thing is, I've tried my best to limit that for my, so like I take my stuff here. Like we had a podcast. It's much. This is the best way of communicating how I feel to people. I'm here with you always. You're always a good faith actor. We're always having a conversation. The audience has listened to so many hours of us. They're not trying to find a clip or a second to be like, like they're listening with the intention of hopefully receiving what I'm saying.
Agreed.
So like the social media back and forth thing, I haven't done it in a long time. Even with this, I'm not gonna do it. Like I just unfollowed the person. They have their account locked anyway, so I'll never see what they have to say again.
Right.
I didn't go, you're blocked, or I'm unfollowing you. I wasn't looking for conflict.
Right.
And it's conflict is not abuse. You know, that I just summed it up. Never mind.
Yes, and that's what it is. And for me, the thing that used to really baffle me about social media, and I've been on it for so long, and one of the reasons why I pulled away so heavily is because I'm a person. I am a real life fucking human being, and you're not gonna talk to me crazy online because words mean things to me. And so, like, I am the type of person that all that interacting and all that slang and all that back and forth and all that being sassy, I'm like, oh, no, bitch, I don't have time for this. If you was to look me in my eye, would you say it to my motherfucking face? No. Well, then why are we interacting like this?
You know what else it is, too, is, and I think other people just must not think this way. And it's probably because we're online and we're consuming each other, so we don't mean as much to each other because it's just consumption. It's just another, if you follow 5,000 people, what does it matter if it's 4,999 tomorrow because you decided that I'm an asshole, right? It's like I'm not valuable to you. But to me, on my social media, I follow people if I think they're valuable. I interact with people for the most part if I have a level of respect for them.
Agreed.
And I don't debate, go back and forth, or have conversations with anyone I don't respect, period. Now, it doesn't mean that people don't fluctuate in and out of respect, meaning like someone could say something to me where I go, oh, that was my mistake for thinking you were a different type of person, and I tap out. And I'm sure it happens to me as well. But I think it's so interesting because I value me and my time so fucking much. I don't have enough of it. I have things I want to do. I'm not able to do every day.
Right.
There's things that are important to me that I'm working on in the background that like I have to take a little bit of time every day and be like, think about this, do this. So anytime I'm spending on social, talking to people, anytime I'm spending on this podcast, it's valuable to me in a way where when we come on this podcast, we don't typically talk about stuff that we don't find relevant, important, funny, entertaining, something. Like we're not just on here shooting the shit. We take a day off rather than just give all a bullshit ass show.
Agreed.
Anyway, my point being, I assume that of too many people is my problem. I assume people are like me in that if you replied to my tweet, then maybe something I said was important or whatever. You either identify with it, it bothered you, or you were like, oh, this person I hold in some level of esteem, I'd like to interact with them. That's my assumption, but that's obviously not. That's why if you go to my account, I have so many followers, I don't follow that many people. It's not that I don't follow that many people because I'm a dick and I'm like, I'm not following you back. It's just I can only consume so much, and there's only so many people whose opinions I'm gonna want to see.
Right.
And I'm not on there to be like I'm the most popular person. I'm like, okay, if I can follow 900 people and keep up kind of with what's happening, that's gonna be my limit. If I have 50,000 followers, I'm not gonna follow 50,000 people. So the people I do click that follow button on, it does mean something to me.
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna see your opinion and your thing and whatever it is. It means it is not just a flip it thing.
Nope.
But yeah. So anyway, my point being, that's why I was distracted. Go ahead.
I was about to say no problem. And for me personally, when you talk about your time being precious, and as you get older, your time becomes even more precious. And my thing for me, people know this, but it's a purpose behind me saying this statement. I'm a talker, and as somebody that talks a lot, over the years, I realized that most people really don't give a fuck about what you're saying and the words that are coming out of your mouth. Your family, your friends, your loved ones, your kids. Most people actually just do not care, particularly unless it directly impacts their lives and they are like really impacted by it. Other than that, most people actually do not care what you have to say and the words that are coming out of your mouth. And so I had to get to the place where I, as a talker, understood that, and I had to learn how to use my words wisely, and I had to learn that words mean things, and I had to understand when I'm speaking to somebody, I do not like to waste my time with my words, because I could be talking to somebody that would actually listen to my words, care about what I want to say. We are actually having a pure interaction type of thing. And I don't know if this is because I'm old or what, but that's my form of communication. So for me, social media fucked me up because it flipped all those things upside down on their heads. And I was like, oh, no. Nobody's trying to have real conversations. Nobody's trying to learn. Nobody's trying to enlighten themselves. Nobody's trying to do the things that I actually consider having a constructive conversation, like a real interaction, a positive conversation. They all don't have to be quote unquote positive all the time. And the thing is also, when you disagree, it doesn't have to be the end of the world, type of thing. But the way social media is designed, because it's easy to dismiss, it's easy to discard, it's easy to block, it's easy to move on, it's easy to not have compassion for people because these people aren't real. They're behind a screen with a name and a number. And so once I realized that, I go, oh, okay, there's things in this, and just me, that impacted me emotionally and physically and just fucked with my head and my mind. And so I was like, oh, no, I can't do this because this is not reality, type of thing for me. And so, like I said, I'm on social media. I don't mind social media. I interact with people and things like that. But for me, that's why I'm like you. I pick and choose who I interact with. I pick and choose who I follow for a reason. Like, I'm not out here just willy-nilly, because I realize these things can impact you. They can impact you more than people are willing to admit. And it's going to be, and they've done studies, but it's going to be amazing with the next 5, 10 to 15 years when they start doing studies that come out about how children are fucked up, how adults are fucked up, how ADHD went up because of social media, how depression went up because of social media, how loneliness went up because of social media, how people started having breakdowns, like mental breakdowns because of social media, how people committed suicide because of social media, how people lost friends because of social media.
There was a woman that recently died by suicide, and her husband was on TikTok basically saying like internet bullying, like cyberbullying, killed her. Because people were harassing her and doxing her and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it's definitely real. The internet is real. Social media is real. The consequences are real.
Yep.
But the last thing I'll say, and then we can hopefully move on, is it's also a little bit insulting to me, because if I was going to be insulting towards somebody, there would be no need to reach. Meaning, when I decide to disrespect somebody, it's not a nebulous thing. Like, you'll never be like, did he disrespect me?
Yeah, you won't have a question about it.
Yeah, I'll be telling you, yes. There will be no misunderstanding. You don't have to reach.
Me either. I'll be like, it's beef, and here's the beef, and here's the problem.
Whenever I've hit that button, which I do not hit that button very often. I try not to hit that button. I try not to move in the button pushing direction.
Agreed, baby.
When I have hit that button, it has been nuclear. And it has not been bridges. I regret hitting that button many times. Mm-hmm. But when I do hit that button, there won't be a need to be like, well, I took it. Like, no. It'll be like, you took it. You don't have a choice but to take it how I want you to take it.
Right.
Like you might disagree, you might whatever, you might think I'm a dick, but there won't be I don't think he meant it that way. It'll be he meant it that way, and there's no other person on earth that's watching this that thinks he didn't mean it that way.
Right.
So anyway, I just that's such a like weird like.
Yes.
You think I'm gonna hit you with some passive aggressive shit? That if anything, that might be maybe that is my trigger or whatever. Is the people that get mad before it's anything said. Where I'm just like, well, what the fuck? You know,
right? Anyway. At least let it get to that point. It's like you get pre-mad. But I say this, then we can move on. But I do 100% agree with you. You know, I get along with most people. You know, we ain't got to be best friends, but we can get along. But if I truly don't like you and I want it to be known, I will make it known.
Yeah. I go scorched earth just because it's like neither one of us should want to cross this path again.
Right. Leave me alone.
But it takes a lot for it. It ain't gonna be no one comment on my Twitter that's gonna make me be like, hey man, hey, I'm gonna destroy. Like anyway.
Agreed.
Episode 3118. And thank you for listening, Karen. I know that had nothing to do with feedback, but I mean, I guess it's kind of related to feedback.
Yeah,
but,
I don't mind talking with you.
Yeah. Episode 3118. Dr. McMessy. We had my man. Chris Lamberth on the show. He just did his stand-up special taping last night. Yay. So hopefully some of the people listening went and rocked it, and I hope it was great. I hope he broke a leg. I tweeted at him, break a leg, last night. So hopefully that went well. I'll probably talk to him and ask him how it went soon. Here's the comments. Apia says, here is one from Oversee White. I'm still here for the blackout tips. What I think is funny is she spelled oversee, like Oversee, and I think she meant to spell it like overseas because English is not like her first language. I think she means I'm overseas, I'm in Germany. But Oversee White in America has a completely different connotation.
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's what we call.
You don't want to be that type of overseer.
That's how they got the name Cracker, because they was cracking them whips, them overseers.
Yes, sir.
You do not want to be an overseer white and not listening to this podcast.
That's hilarious.
Sean says, I guess JL is the official dog catcher of the podcast. I lost count of how many strays he caught during this episode.
We love JL.
Are they strays if I'm shooting them directly at him? I don't think they're strays. I guess strays in the meaning that you weren't expecting me to say anything. But come on. He's always on the menu. Sean says, chopsticks are simple. Hold one like a pencil, then balance the other one between your base and thumb on your ring finger. Move the top one. Sean.
I didn't mean to snort.
Sean, if it was that, first of all, if people are listening to our show and they're like, man, I can't figure these chopsticks out, they can find much better avenues than obviously listening to the audio of our podcast to me explain it from the audio version of you saying it. I feel like they can go to YouTube, they can hit the AI Google search.
Not the AI.
I feel so now we have to get to what this really was about, Sean. This is a flex.
You trying to flaunt on us.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You know how to use chopsticks.
Very well.
And it isn't the point, isn't that you know how to use chopsticks. It's simple. It's so easy for Sean.
Even a dummy can do it.
Just hold one like a pencil. Put the other one. So all you stupids that can't do it.
Right. All you non-smart people.
So don't you write up here calling
figure it out.
Don't you write up here no more calling my wife stupid. Because I know that's what you're doing.
Being highfalutin.
She says she's working on the chopsticks and you just wanted to be like, I know how to do it already. Well, congratulations.
I'm getting better, baby. Thank you.
You know you like to raise your hand and say, teacher, can we get some more homework before you cancel class?
Boo to that person.
Nah, you just said thank you to that person. That's who Sean is. Then he writes, Sushi Manners 101. Most Japanese people use chopsticks for sushi. It was traditionally a finger food, but not currently. About mixing wasabi with soy sauce, the truth is, in polite company, you tend to leave them separate, dip the sashimi part of the sushi in the soy sauce, and then put wasabi on top. However, when eating with friends or family, most people mix the wasabi into the soy sauce. If you're eating maki rolls, it is okay to dip the rice into the soy sauce, but nigiri, fish or rice kind of sushi fish on the rice kind of sushi. You only dip the fish. Most people separate it, but you can turn your sushi upside down if you prefer. If you really want to sound like a pro, the fish part on the giri is the neta, the rice is the shari, the felon for rolls, maki is gu. The pickled ginger that you eat between pieces of sushi to cleanse your plate is gari. Wasabi is called namita, literally tears. All right, y'all. You can also find all the information on the first page of Google if you decide to search sushi etiquette. Personally, I just found it was more funny to pick on Sean than I'm not gonna remember any of this stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, baby, and I'm gonna keep eating sushi with my hands.
Most of it I already know, and then the other part of it, the person that needs to be learning it is Karen, and I don't know how y'all have listened to 3,000 episodes of our show and y'all don't get it yet. She don't care, and she not gonna retain it. She don't want to know. She don't give a fuck. She can name every character from Jujutsu Kaisen, but
I can
something like this you'll be writing in every fucking week with the same paragraph.
I don't know. Don't ask me. My brain is like that. My brain is like, is it relevant? Is it not? And if it ain't relevant, you probably gonna have to repeat it because I don't know. I just will not retain it. I'll be like, who? I know you just said that name yesterday, but who?
And she delights in it. She could change it. She don't have to be like this. She watches
part of the problem.
She watches 47 isekai anime and keeps them all separate in track with the characters and the storylines. just give up, Sean. You waste at this point. You making me waste my time reading this.
That's where my brain power goes. That's why I can't remember other shit.
She don't. That's not why. She don't care. If she wanted to know this, she can know this. She could have looked it up. She don't care. She gonna eat sushi with her hands.
I am.
And she not gonna know any of the shit you just said.
Free breaking all the etiquette, baby. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Rona Raphael says, I'll be there reporting live at Chris's show. Come find me, the Blackout Tips Nation. Sean, I will follow all that instruction you wrote, but my former sensei gave me the go-ahead to eat with my beautiful fingers. Why destroy the forest? Because the flood caused flooding to the world. Say the trees. Parava Quran bless. Sean Sandler Agony says, hey, Rod and Karen. So, yes, Screen Unseen is something I got into when I was living in West Palm Beach a couple years ago. When I watched a Toni Collette feature called Mama Mafia, it was a Regal Cinema, but it caught on at the time. I think it was $5, but with inflation and tariffs, I currently pay $8 for them. And they only happen,
I said $8. That still ain't bad.
And and they only happen on Mondays. Planned on watching Jurassic World Rebirth, and this fever I'm just getting rid of. Told my black ass to chill, so I did. Also, to vouch for Chris, about 40 Acres and 28 Years Later, both are good. I love 28 Years Later and the choices the film made in a certain act that movies rarely do. It pays off with an emotional, heartfelt crescendo to a certain character that's been dealing with something, and I'll just say the Spike character, played by Alfie Williams, is forced to grow up. Thought the whole thing was great, and definitely do see 40 Acres. Danielle Deadweiler's just one of them ones, man. Can act her ass off, throws hands, and shoot. It's also a parable for the Still in the Land. Think both of y'all will like it. Peace. Thanks. AVE says, Chris is one of my favorite top five returning guests on the show. Always a good time when he's on. Good to hear he's out there dating and having a good time. I don't know what Ron Funches did to that person to hate him so much, but he seems so inoffensive and he seems nice. Just goes to show everyone has ops. Yo, it's like a running gag on the show that I listen to at this point.
Hilarious.
But I can't help, maybe it's the impact, I can't help but be like, man, I hope Ron Funches never hears this, because it just seems so slanderous and unfair, unless really somebody runs into Ron Funches and he's talking quote unquote normal, and it's like, oh, this is all an act? Okay, well, maybe you are a fake ass dude for that, but I just feel like he probably just talk like that.
I think he does too.
He can't help that. It's like Christopher Walken, like he can't help that he talk funny. If he was Christopher Walken, we wouldn't even be saying all this stuff, but because he's black, he got an extra burden on him to represent black masculinity in a certain light at all times, and it just feels weird. That's all. I don't know if those texts would equate harassment from Tyler Perry, but it seems like they were released to out him. I don't care if Tyler Perry is gay or not. That's his business, but I hope it doesn't come out that he's really a predator, takes advantage of his subordinates. That would suck. I guess like with the Lizzo case, we'll see what happens in court. Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens in court, but I definitely the one element of it that I don't want to dismiss, because I realized in hindsight when we were discussing it that, because we didn't really go into details in the articles, what me and Chris ended up kind of discussing was more of the especially amongst black men, the willingness to believe Tyler Perry is a predator seems directly correlated to like a level of homophobia.
Yes.
And that was the point of that discussion. But even if just those texts he sent are what's in the case, while they may not rise to like proof of sexual assault in anything that I read, that still was a man who worked for you. Okay, like, and the same way I felt about Tavis Smiley, you know, doing that, and people being like, "Well, it's just you just at work, you can't holler." It's like there's a line there,
power, yeah,
where there's a certain level of power. You have to understand this is part of the risk of being the boss who hollers at people that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the risk, because you do run that sort of line of, hey, am I going out with you because I'm into you, or is it I don't want to lose my job and I feel like that's part of it? You know, we're learning a lot more about power dynamics and interpersonal relationships and how everybody's inner monologue is different now.
Yes, it is.
I'm not under the illusion that any of us can control someone's inner monologue. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like all these people should know how these people underneath them feel about whatever, because it is very mixed signally. It is very gray area. It can be confusing to people to navigate, and there are many cases where somebody is dating a person that was like a director on my film, and they get married and they have kids, and it goes fine. So I do understand that this is not a hard and fast cut and dry rule, but that being said, it is a risk. Every time your name's on the ledger and you the one that's sending the text messages that's flirty, I can't look at it when it backfires and be like, well, nah, that's totally on that other person. I'm like, no, I can see why a person like, I wasn't ever really comfortable with this, but I was afraid, blah, blah, blah. And now you're in the hot water, and we can never really prove that this person is just out to get you, or that this person really was like, I felt uncomfortable and Tyler wouldn't stop.
Right.
So I don't know. You know, the Lizzo thing is a perfect example, because like I said, if I didn't even tell you it was Lizzo, and I told you the year was 1982, and I told you the same story, just, hey, did you know, insert pop star, has so much fun on the road, she goes out with her dancers, they go to fucking sex shows, and they go to fucking strip clubs, and everybody's drinking and making out, and they're eating fucking pussy bananas out of strippers. Like, we'd be like, Prince is crazy. Wow, but what a time partying with Prince.
Yeah, partying with Madonna.
Yeah, Madonna. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Lady Gaga. But we don't know that even back then that there weren't people that were like, I'm going here because I'm in the new generation, and I'm scared that if I don't go to Prince's parties, he gonna cut me from the band.
Right.
We'll never know, because that's in your head, and we don't know that Prince ever threatened you or felt that way or even gave a fuck, to be honest. We'll never know. But it used to be a thing that you just ate. Like, you were just like, maybe I'm just the one uncomfortable. Maybe it's my anxiety, or maybe this part of the job. I don't want to lose my job. But now we got social media, lawsuits. We got the Me Too movement. Like, people have a place to put these things now, to where you might end up being in court or being sued or whatever over that. And I think that's a very valid thing we can't just dismiss. So the power dynamics of Tyler Perry being who Tyler Perry is, trying to holler at one of the actors on his show whose career he controls in the palm of his hand whenever he goes to write something to script, and he is the only writer, meaning if he decides to kill you off, it was a him decision, not a staff decision. Yes, that is a scary amount of power to then proposition me with, or to flirt with me with, because how do I ever feel comfortable saying no to the man that holds my career in his hand? And that ain't got nothing to do with being gay. Meaning he could have done it. It wouldn't matter if it's a woman, man. It don't matter to me. The power dynamics are the power dynamics, and we didn't get to go into that as much because we were just having a conversation with Chris. But I wanted to clarify. I hope R. Kelly never sees the light of day again. Wish he would just go away, she says. Yeah, they're trying their best to get him out of there. I mean, out of jail. It's wild his lawyers are going hard right now. I don't know if it'll work. My conspiracy is that they're going to try to manufacture all this controversy so they can then go to Trump and be like, Trump, you got to let us out. You got to let him out.
Pardon, yep.
And however much money that costs to pay Trump to get a pardon, I think they're willing to do it. If they can come up with the money.
If they can come up with whatever his number is.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was I wouldn't be surprised if Diddy's people was thinking about it that way.
I agree.
Like, I really wouldn't. Like, I think Diddy's a federal case, but whatever. I'm just not. And I don't even know if Trump can let R. Kelly out. Meaning, I don't know if it's a federal thing or not. But I think a lot of these. I think people see Trump as a way out right now.
Yes. Everything's for sale.
Right. YouTube, I'll skip some of the emoji comments, but I'll shout y'all out. Inez left some emojis. Somebody with a lot of letters, YYZ237, left some high emojis. CC says, hi, Rod, Karen, and guest. Dark Namja emojis. Jinxful says, just saw 40 Acres last night at a screening. Joint was fire. Highly recommend to go see it once it comes out near you. I think it comes out maybe next week for us. D says, is he that good? I don't remember what we were talking about. The girl on the other side of the road says, Rod, you have no game. Telling Chris to lie on the first date will get him dumped. Well, it's a first date. How he getting dumped? It's not a relationship. Because if it were me, I'd go to what else were you lying about loop. Well, see, if honestly though, the girl on the other side of the road, first of all, I think that was some game I gave him, and most of the people agree in the chat. So I think you might be wrong here. And Chris is not responsible for what the previous cats did that will put you into that triggered lying loop.
Well, the cat daddies.
Right. But most importantly here, I feel like that'd be doing him a favor, because if I can't say, like, if you discover later, like, we're happily together, and I go, that first date we went on where you showed me how to use chopsticks. I actually did know how to use chopsticks. I just wanted to see if you would show me. And then you go, this is a house of cards that is tumbling down from your lies.
Everything is fake.
Then I will have done Chris a favor, because he need to get the fuck away from that person.
Let's know this up front.
Because that is too crazy for me. To just go, everything gotta go because you lied about me teaching you chopsticks on the first date is crazy to me. You acted like I was saying, like, hey man, go out there, tell her that you don't got no kids even though you got 3. Like, come on. This and especially like when we get in a gendered situation like that on first dates, everybody's lying a little bit. Oh, I'm not that hungry, I'm just gonna get a salad. No man, do you be who you are, okay? But what happens? You lie and let him feel like he the reason you ate a steak. Well, if you say it's okay to eat on steak, I guess I'll get a steak for the second time today, because I always eat steaks.
I'm a steak eater.
Give me that market price. Karen lied to me on the first date. She wasn't ordering market price food for a long time.
I didn't lie to you.
And now look at her. Every day. She got to live.
Our first date was a play. How we get to market price?
She got to live on that lie, don't she?
No, that conversation never came up on our first date.
She knew she was a market price person.
I didn't. I grew into that.
When we went to Celebration Station. She knew.
I didn't even know what market price was.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't have a dollar amount, I was like, bitch, why is we here?
You see, girl on the side of the road, this is how
I get started.
This the house of lies falling down right in front of you. What else is she lying about? Should I leave her? All right, y'all. No more podcasts for y'all.
You never know.
Karen lied on the first date. That's the end of the show. She also said the problem with Jonathan Majors is that he's not cute enough to act like this. Like, I never heard a woman say Jonathan Majors can beat me if he wants to. I don't know how many ways of problematic that last entry was. It makes me go back to your I don't have no game thing. I don't know about that. It sounds like you let cute guys get away with a lot of stuff, including beating people.
I hope not, baby.
Is that it? You think Chris ain't cute enough to get away with a lie about chopsticks compared to Jonathan Majors? I guess Chris Brown is just that cute. Jason says, Man, I love when the original milkman Chris Lambert stops by. God damn it, I'm sorry, Chris. That's my fault. The unwarranted Snow Bunny allegations will never not be funny. But I always love to hear his take on the life of a performer. I was frightened to hear that Leonardo DiCaprio is dating near 30-year-olds now. It lets me know we're really getting older. I should probably schedule that prostate exam.
You might want to then.
I think it's more of a recession indicator than anything.
Mm-hmm.
It just means we broke. Like anytime we start talking about Leonardo DiCaprio having to come down to reality and date a, I don't know, 26-year-old.
Like, oh, I got to date somebody reasonable.
Yeah, not in this economy. The poll was, do you know how to eat with chopsticks? 65% of the audience does, 35% does not. So there you go. Still a pretty high percentage.
I'm working on it. but that wasn't an option.
Well, I think you do know how to use them. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to be able to catch a fly like Mr. Miyagi to know how to use them. I've seen you use chopsticks.
Mm-hmm. I'm a lot more proficient at it. Like a lot more than when I first started. I purposely make myself use them periodically when I'm eating, just so I can get more. My hands can feel more accustomed to the feel of them.
You're only as confident as you feel, I guess. But I don't know. I would say you know how to use them from what I've seen. But all right, let's get into the next episode. I'm trying to remember, did I play music last time? You know, it's about time for a break. All right, the next episode, 3119, Blackest Smurf, 11 comments. We got 11. Wow. Appia says, words are interesting. In Germany, Oriental is a word used by certain people to describe themselves. Think names like Oriental Cafe or the kind of food they serve, like you would do with Italian. It would be strange to refuse to say it when it's used as an advertisement by the owner. Here's one example of literally too many to count, and it's a picture of cafe. I don't know why this is, but obviously it hasn't the same outdated value here as in the US. It is claimed the word here like the word queer is. Totally understand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Different shit in different countries makes sense to me. I'm sure there's some shit we say over here that y'all are like, what?
I agree. Yes.
I don't know what it is, but it's got to be something just because we're all from different places. Sean says, I couldn't understand where Karen was coming from with the hot dog. Can you really, Mr. I know how to use chopsticks because it's so fucking easy? I don't think you can relate. I think you are being nice and you're not, and it's not relatable to you in any way because you're such a genius. I think you would have immediately assessed the situation upon seeing 4 different hot dogs with 4 different toppings in your face, and you would have said,
right past them hot dogs.
Sean would have said, "Don't give me one with everything because you will think everything means everything, and if you don't operate that way, then I feel like you're a liar." Because every time I do a poll, you be the one that's writing in trying to get the gray areas and the margins to be like, well, did you think about this? So either you lying now or you been lying all them other times. I don't know which it is, but let's get into the rest of this comment. Think about it this way. If you're looking at a grits menu, it has options for grits like cheese, eggs, bacon, butter, whatever. But then they slip sugar or maple syrup into the option menu. You may not catch it. It is something so absurd that it is difficult for the rational mind to accept it existing on a list of otherwise very rational options. Psychology calls this inattention blindness and proved it with a video where people literally will not see a person in a gorilla suit walking through the screen under certain circumstances. Here's a problem with everything you just said. It was not a menu like, oh, I didn't finish reading the menu. They had literally taken hot dogs, dressed them up, put them in our fucking faces at the glass where you get the hot dog. So they had 4 examples of the 4 kind of hot dogs they make.
Oh, it's my fault. I keep them beat the fuck out of them hot dogs. Like they wouldn't even know.
Right. So it's not inattention blindness as much as it is Karen just operates with me as a safety net at all times where I gotta catch it. And how come is no inattention blindness for me, Sean, or my mama, or my daddy, or anybody else in the line? Y'all gotta stop doing this. Stop acting like my wife is just supposed to not be able to do stuff. What's gonna happen when I'm not around? What if she gotta go to the store by herself? Come on, y'all. The problem is y'all don't believe in my wife the way I do. Y'all don't really love her. Y'all are some enablers, and I don't appreciate y'all. Just call her stupid, then. Just say Karen is stupid. Why don't y'all just understand? There's no choice for her to be stupid. It's not true. Sean says, also, if you do not remember, Smurfette was originally created by Gargamel to sow discord among the Smurfs. That's why she is the only female Smurf. And Miss Barnes says, facts. I did not know that. So this nigga can create Smurfs, but he was still trying to kidnap the Smurfs and eat the Smurfs? Why didn't he just eat Smurfette? Why didn't he just make 57 Smurfettes at home
and eat them?
That's
like making your favorite food and going, it ain't that important.
That guy's a fucking weirdo. Yeah, that's like making an egg roll, going to the Chinese restaurant and sliding your egg roll in with the other egg rolls instead of just eat. Like, I'm gonna get all the egg rolls if I play this right. Like, just make 50 egg rolls.
And you could have made them at the house. You got egg rolls at home.
You weirdo. Not you, but Gargamel. So
Gargamel is a weirdo.
Yeah, you're only weird for trying to enable Karen. You're not weird for the Gargamel take. That was a good take. Ramsey D. Chinga says 5 stars for this entire episode, especially for the discussion about Zootopia and the hot dog story. Thank you. Ms. Barnes says this episode alone can win a Nobel Prize for podcasting. I really had not thought deep about how Gargamel was obsessed with the Smurfs like Rick James was obsessed with cocaine. Is it that deep because Smurfs was your boy's blue pill, that fix, that need? Yeah. Maybe it was. Yeah, what if Smurfs was an aphrodisiac? I don't know. I have to wonder if Gargamel obsessed because he cannot get a Smurf to snort, or he did snort the Smurf and he was like, this is my jam. It does explain the crackhead level of chase he gave them every Saturday morning. That's a good point. She also says, also, Rod, you couldn't help Karen out with the hot dogs. I'm gonna finish reading this comment, but I'm gonna explain to y'all how it was help. Karen works so hard to make sure you are a kept man, and this is how you thank her. You are the Kevin Costner to Karen's Whitney Houston. You have one of many jobs when it comes to Karen, and making sure that she gets the assistance needed to ordering hot dogs was a priority. I'm sorry, Karen, and I will suggest try your hot dogs Carolina style with mustard, chili, and slaw on a brioche bun. Oh, you know what's ironic about that, Miss Barnes? That's what I ordered. Huh. Wow. It's just, and they really had it in our face, dressed up to look like this what a Carolina dog look like. And I said, I'll take one of those right there since you did the work to show me what it looks like. But most importantly, this is me helping her. We at the stage now where sometimes I have to let her fail on her own so that she understands that this shit is important. Okay?
You can do it, Karen. You can do it.
I'm sorry that y'all don't believe Karen can be a functioning adult. I'm sorry. I really don't know how y'all listen to this show with 1.5 people. Because I see it as 2 people having a conversation, 2 adults, 2 equals who both know how to order fucking hot dogs, who is not beyond it is not beyond Karen's highest achievements to order a hot dog, guys. It's not. I know that y'all I don't know what it says about what y'all think about this woman, but I personally do not feel like this is getting a 1600 on an SAT situation. I've seen her order hot dogs before.
Yes.
So I actually do know she can do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let y'all enable her, and I'm not going to take it that way. So I'm sorry. Y'all just going to have to deal with me letting her work it out. And she did work it out.
I did. I figured it out.
Because the man asked her 12 times, you sure? Macaroni and cheese? You sure? And it was like, oh, no.
I was like, no macaroni and cheese. Who gets that on a hot dog?
You know why they had to ask y'all? No one had ever ordered that shit before. Okay. All right. Ronan Raphael says, I died multiple times reading this and lost my defense of Rod. Blame Miss Barnes, Rod. I had your back this time until this comment. I don't. Honestly, Ronan Raphael, I don't count you as having my back ever. kind of shady. You move real shady these days.
You move shifty.
You don't even want me to call you Rona Raphael no more.
That's what your mama call you Rona Raphael. I'm gonna call you Rona Raphael.
You can't have my back. You don't even have your own back. Stand up for your name, player. I've been got, can't believe it. The night before, a 7-year-old was arguing with me that Gargamel was trying to eat Smurfs. I said, nah, but this is a relentless 7-year-old with an infinity stone. Then Rod brings up the same point. A Parava Quran got to concede to the multi-dimensional 7-year because that kid gonna find me in any timeline. Play Rod is right. Solid episode. 100% on the Obama talk. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Eve says, I'm with Karen on the hot dog thing. No, you're not. No, you're not. Stop. If y'all think my wife is stupid, just fucking say that. Nobody's with Karen on the hot dog thing because we all know that's not what happens. You eat Arby's, so I know you don't give a fuck about what goes in your body. But that's not true that everybody just, oh no, macaroni and cheese. So we all expect that on the hot dog when we go in. We say, give us everything. And even when we see the macaroni and cheese, we expect them to know not the macaroni and cheese, obviously. That's not part of the everything. Anyway, when I think of a hot dog with everything, mac and cheese, the last thing on my mind. Well, have you ever seen the hot dog with macaroni and cheese in your fucking face because they actually made it? And when it was on the menu in front of you and said, do you want the mac and cheese dog? Because if you haven't had that scenario happen, then you actually can't relate. You actually don't know what you're talking about. They had laid the hot dogs out in front of us, y'all. We saw what everything that goes on hot dogs was. So you can't make up a scenario like, oh, sometimes you get menu blindness when they say salt and sugar and you don't read it. That's not what happened. They had the physical hot dogs in our face, y'all. God damn. Now y'all trying to gaslight me. I think ketchup, mustard, onions, chili, and maybe even sauerkraut and pickles. That's another thing. Thank you for saying that. God, you guys, I could be a lawyer. You guys are making this so easy. You think maybe even sauerkraut and pickles, right? Karen, when you were ordering your everything on your hot dog, what did you think they were going to put on it?
What did I really think? I thought it was going to put chili, slaw, ketchup, mustard.
Now keep for the record, guys, you have to put the ketchup and mustard on at this stand for some reason. But keep going.
Possibly relish.
Yeah, okay, you thought relish.
Yeah, that's another one.
So you wanted slaw. What was it? Slaw?
Oh, slaw, chili,
ketchup, mustard, relish.
Ketchup, mustard, relish, onions. You know how sometimes they sprinkle onions on there. Possibly one of them long pickles, and that's
it.
Not trying to find. That's as far as my mind kind of.
So you thought, but you did think they would put the pickles on there, possibly the long pickles.
Yeah, like
when you said everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said, somebody said cheese. Cheese just didn't come to mind.
Cheese didn't come to mind.
No,
right.
Even though I've no.
Thank you for being honest, because a lot of people would have chose to lie right here to try to like help the audience, and I appreciate. I know your character, and I know you wouldn't lie even to make yourself look better. No,
cheese was not on my mind.
That's why I love you. But the point is, everybody's everything is different. Hers got sauerkraut.
Okay,
on
I
it.
See what you're saying. Yeah.
So like, so even in your defense of like, when I think everything is different. It don't even make sense to be like everything is the same for everybody. Somebody's everything is the tomato.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's everything is barbecue sauce. Somebody like. Everybody's everything ain't even the same everything. So like, why are we pretending that this is? I hate that we've reached hot dog gate.
Hot dog gate part 46.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on when y'all ready to stop lying. Stop acting like Karen. Come on. Just when I think Aubrey Graham can't sing lower than he does, but you were right, Rod. Next up, he gonna start an incel podcast, be the next Joe Budden. I really do think he's gonna do a podcast.
Oh yeah, because he want his voice out there, and I don't mean no harm. If he can't rap to get the attention, he will do this to get the attention, or either he will do the podcast as a launching off point. So he's not trying to funny, keeping it real. His toxic fans can all be in one place, so then he can still make his music and release it, and they'll go still, purchase it and buy it or whatever, because now you've kind of created a, I don't want to say safety net or safety zone, but you've kind of created a place where they are separate from everybody. And so this is how a lot of incels and like a lot of the Republican propaganda and all that shit get created. 4chan, 8chan, all that shit. They separate themselves so you don't get these outside things coming in and kind of fucking it up for the group.
We got comments on YouTube as well, and then of course we'll get to the poll. Dark Namda says Obama's Nobel Peace Prize is eating Trump up inside. This is why he always trying to take credit for ceasefires. He also put Lexington Steele with the shades wearing cool face emoji.
Oh no.
Well, he knows, he get it. Damien says, honestly, Rod, what's really sad is who needs a Luigi when you could have went out to vote? Voting seems way easier. I know I live in California, but even I had to stand in line for hours. Seems like it still takes less effort and doesn't require me losing my humanity harming someone. Yes.
I 100% agree, and I think this is why I will always have an internal fire for the populace as a whole, and an internal fire for the people that were disenfranchised, not for voter suppression, but people that actually physically, like, they could vote. There was nothing holding them back and nor keeping them from taking their ass to the polls, and they opted out, or they allow social media to impact them. The easiest thing you could do is to vote. The hardest thing is the bullshit we're going through right now. Do the easy shit so you don't have to go through the hard shit. Because all jokes aside, I try to have compassion, and I try to have understanding, and I try to have empathy, and I'm trying, Lord knows I'm trying my best to be open-minded and not make my heart turn cold, because now I'm to the point where I don't want to hear it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about your tears. I don't care about your crying. I don't care about you saying you didn't know. It's taking everything in me for my heart not to be cold as motherfucking ice. Because I do not want to lose my humanity. I'm just keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. I don't want to lose my humanity. And a lot of people have. And this is why you have the back and forth online and things like that. This is why you have the people laughing at people getting deported and all this shit. This is why you have that, because a lot of people's like, well, bitch, we didn't have to be here. It is 100% your fault.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be that type of a person, because, I don't want to see people getting hurt, because there are people who voted for this, but there are a lot of people that did not vote for this that are still getting wrapped up in this bullshit too.
Yep. Damien also says, so I think they are saying Obama because they don't want to have to take responsibility for Trump getting back into office. Can someone remind me how long he's been out of office? It would be nice if they kept Obama's name out of their mouths. Yeah, and like I said, for me, the place I'm at, and it might be a radical place for a lot of people, I don't think it's radical. I think I'm being honest. But just like that person on Twitter, I think we're just doing people too many favors with the like, oh, they just don't understand the messaging, or it's just they're confused, that they can't really believe this shit. Show me the evidence that they don't believe it. I would like to see the evidence.
Show me.
Because this is a country that started with slavery.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. This is a country that started with genocide.
Yes, taking
then
it
it started. Then the second step was slavery. Why do you want me to believe that everybody that came out of that trauma, who survived it or profited from it, went on to give this offspring that has no connection to that? That whose birth is completely immaculate. No, none of us came into this clean. And some of us enjoy the dirt and want to stay in it.
100% agree, because if you didn't, you would your actions would show me otherwise.
A lot of y'all sound to me like, when I read history books about the Civil War era, and especially Reconstruction, you sound to me like the people who had a lot of grace for the Southerner that tried to secede from the country. You have a lot of grace. You don't think you do. You think you're being tough. But if I sat you down and was like, so you're saying, what are you saying? You're like, I'm saying they're so stupid they don't even know they're voting against their own interests. And I would go, yeah, I get why you think that that's an insult. What if I went further than you and said, they do know that their own interest is not the money interest you think it is. Their own interest is keeping black people down. Their own interest is women not having rights. Their own interest is suffering for people that are brown and quote unquote not from here, even though their ancestors aren't from here.
Right.
They'll give up birthright citizenship if they think the only people that will be hurt, not only people, if they think the people who will be most hurt are just not white people. Not that no white people get hurt, but just as long as I see somebody hurting further than me, I'm okay with that. And nobody wants to accept that. Nobody wants to believe that that's what's happening.
Right.
We keep rationalizing it. I guess we just don't want to go to the grocery store and think a person next to us in line is on that bullshit. But
it's the truth.
Honestly, it's the only way I can wake up every day and breathe and not be insane is to understand that is what is happening.
Because you'll lose it.
This is my enemy. This is not my friend. I'm not some violent person. I'm not threatening them. I'm just saying I know not to trust you.
Right.
You actually do agree with and are okay with this bullshit. And it's gotten so bad that we don't have the gray area of choice anymore where I could be like, well, maybe they're like a John McCain Republican.
We used to. Yeah.
No.
But not anymore.
They're getting rid of the John McCain Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
They're kicking them out.
Mitt Romney. Yeah, all those people that was like.
John McCain's daughter has no place in the party.
No, she does
because
not.
they don't tolerate even a step out of line. So, yeah, don't look at me like I need to feel a level of forgiveness. And anytime you tell me it's some messaging or Obama didn't do this, well, I don't know what you do to message to somebody that thinks you're just the N-word as soon as you show up in their face.
Right.
They're thinking every negative thing about you being black. And it's like, well, if you would have said it like this, shut up. That's not true. Ron says, what's the official weapon of the show? Shop, he put, but I think he meant show. And it's the folding chair. Eniqua says, I agree with Karen about the hot dog situation. On principle, mac and cheese is a gross option for a hot dog. Y'all ain't gonna drive me crazy. I said what I said. And y'all just gonna have to be wrong. I cannot wait to be like, maybe the next live event, we'll have a hot dog bar. We'll get those guys to come out. They're gonna put the 4 hot dogs in front of everybody.
As an option.
I'm gonna put on the sign for the hot dogs. I'm gonna tell them, take down the signs. I only want 2 options: everything or customized. And I'm gonna make everybody go there and order. And I'm gonna tell you, 0 of y'all gonna see them make macaroni and cheese and be like, everything. 0 of y'all. None of y'all will make the same mistake. Y'all gonna be like, well, obviously not macaroni and cheese. You wouldn't have put a big ass bucket of macaroni and cheese on this hot dog unless it was one of the toppings that goes on this, and I don't want that. Jason says, I'm not even gonna comment on the Obama should go on Rogan stuff because I think people took care of that nonsense. But it does annoy me how much influence or perceived influence this country gives the Rogans and the Theo Vons. I could be wrong, but I truly believe people don't vote for Trump because they listen to Rogan. They listen to Rogan because they're inclined to vote for Trump. Right. We just keep working backwards in this country. It's
Agreed.
Like, oh no, Joe Rogan's convincing people. No, he's not. The same way Fox News is not convincing you. It's where you go when you've been convinced. Now, I mean, shit, One America News or whatever, you going even further than Fox News not good enough.
It's not good enough.
That should tell you everything.
They're going harder to the right.
That Fox News lost people because they were not conservative enough should tell you it's not them driving the car. They are just in the passenger seat to this white supremacy.
Agreed.
Kamala going on that show would have done nothing but give people one less excuse for why she lost other than racism and misogyny. Honestly, in my world, she goes on that show in another universe, and they just critique how her performance on the show and say that's the reason she lost the election. Like, she goes on Joe Rogan, they sit there for 2.5 hours, she's fine, she's exemplary, she's excellent, but they still go, she didn't do something right. I don't know what it would be. She didn't get personal enough. She was too buttoned up. She was giving campaign answers. Whatever it was gonna always be this way. It was going to be her fault because it cannot be the people who voted for this fault. Right. America will not allow for us to say The real fight we're fighting is one amongst ourselves.
Yes.
And these politicians are just avatars for choices, but they're not actually steering the ship. They're not making us do anything.
It's the populace.
And since Bernie loves going on those shows so much, I wish he would do one thing. The next time Andrew Schultz pretends like he would vote for Bernie, I need Bernie to say, AOC has the exact same policies I do. Would you vote for her? Crickets, I bet. Yeah, I don't know enough about Andrew Schultz to know what he would say, but the fact that they were bonding over a stolen election let me know everything I need to know. And what was it? Oh, the poll. Best sequel name: Zootopia 2, Tootopia, or Zootopia. 15% of y'all, 16% say Zootopia 2, which is the title of the sequel. But 50% of y'all say Tootopia, which is the highest on our, so y'all like the Tootopia better.
I like that one.
And then coming in second is actually Zootopia. So Zootopia 2 is actually the least popular of the titles. So I think they should have took a chance on this one. They messed up. They missed the mark. It happens, just like some of y'all, want to debate putting macaroni and cheese on a hot dog. Which, for the record, you can't trick me. The debate wasn't whether or not macaroni and cheese goes on a hot dog. That's what y'all keep trying to change it to. But that wasn't what we were discussing. It was, if you see macaroni and cheese as one of the toppings, would you say, give me everything? And all of you would say no.
No.
All of you would say no.
I would even say no.
No, you wouldn't. You saw the macaroni and cheese and you said, give me one of everything.
I told you I ignored the fuck out of the hot dog display.
Right. Okay. All right. You know what? Let's go to the next one. 3120. We got at home. We got 3 comments. Appia says, compared with all the terrible politicians, the politicians busted in brothel sting seems almost fine. The ladies in the brothel seem to be adults, and he ordered the regular girlfriend experience. In the current times, almost sweet. And he didn't even try to kill one of them, harm them, or deport them. Thank you, sir, for being just an old school, horny, unfaithful guy. I guess that's the bar now. That's the one thing Trump has been successful at doing, moving the bar.
Right, moving the bar.
Like, wow, not even a lawsuit? Good job. Rona Raphael says, while you were covering the weasel known as J.D. Vance, I came across an article that was about his wife who apparently was a registered Democrat up until a year ago, with her friends wondering what changed in her. All that from the headline, and I recall what Karen says, and you too, Rod, that they still writing as if it's normal administration we're dealing with. Not even their colleagues getting roughed up is enough to turn the tide. What happened to J.D. Vance's wife? The same shit that happened to Ted Cruz's wife, because I know it can't be that dick being too good. Next will be Melania. No, not to worry, my guy. Barack Obama has to come save them too. Shit, back to writing Russian romance. EVE says, I think one of the downfalls of Subway is Jared. Well, yeah, I'm sure that counts.
You know what? I think that played a major role, because prior to that, he was like the spokesperson, the upfront person, and they had to separate, and they took a hit.
Which is a weird thing, right? To say you don't go to Subway because of Jared. It is weird. It's not like the nigga had anything to do with them sandwiches.
But he was almost like the unofficial mascot, because they ain't got no mascot.
I know, but it's still weird.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's like if this is just a funny visual in my head. I don't know why this is the first example that came to my mind, because it's actually not a good example. But it's like if Ronald McDonald got caught being racist.
Not the ginger, who's considered black now.
Like if Ronald McDonald got caught being racist, I would be like, I don't want to eat McDonald's. But at the same time, why? That really has nothing to do with the actual McDonald's. If I was eating McDonald's, I shouldn't be like, well, did you know the clown was racist? Like, the clown don't make the burgers. He's not really real.
Yeah, I think I would take that personal too. I have too many childhood memories of Ronald to be like, you know what, Ronald, fuck you.
Yeah, he doesn't own anything.
Right. And fuck your delinquent crew too. All y'all should be in jail.
Right.
One of y'all named the burglar.
But I can't lie, I would stop eating there, even though it really doesn't make that much sense. If I was eating there before and looking past a whole lot of other shit to eat there, the one that's like, but nah, that when he said McNigger, I said, I'm out.
I've had enough.
I'm out of here, buddy. Oh, not in my veins.
Not on my watch.
Although that scandal was years ago, a few years back they did a documentary on him and how he likes to diddle little kids and how Subway execs were informed by someone close to Jared to watch out for him because he was such a huge marketing tool for them at the time. They swept his pedo conduct under the rug. I think that probably left a bad taste in some people's mouths, so they probably started losing customers around that time and coupled it with the rise in prices in substandard meat. No wonder it's failing. Plus oversaturation. There was a Subway on every corner at one point. I like Jersey Mike's and Firehouse subs better anyway. Plus, I live in the Philly area. I ain't nothing but hoagie shops around here. Down with Subway. Bring back Quiznos.
Is Quiznos even still around?
She said bring back Quiznos. Down with Subway. Bring back Quiznos. Here's my thing, though. Those other two sub places you named are just better. Firehouse and Jersey Mike's just make better food.
They do.
The Subway food is just low quality, and I think it was okay to be low quality with low prices. I don't think people got a lot of morals, or not morals, but I don't think their quandary was, Jared, oh no, I'm no longer eating Subway.
Yeah, $5 foot longs, people are okay with that, but when you say $20 foot long, people are like, hey bitch, if I'm paying $20, I want much better quality for my foot long. And like you said, it's Jersey Mike's, it is Firehouse subs, it's like so many other places, even chains that are much better quality. They don't even have to be your mom and pop shops.
I feel like if they brought back $5 foot longs today, the business would come back. Like people would come back. I really think it's that simple.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong.
In this economy, yes.
But I don't. In a world that elected Trump, I don't even think who was on the Epstein plane. I don't even think pedophiles is enough to make people pass up a good deal these days. But maybe I'm thinking too cynically about people.
Yeah, that bitch would be packed. Because I know, years ago going into the office, it'd be one of these things where for some of my coworkers, particularly when they did the $5 sale, they would literally eat Subway about every day of the week, because it was $5. So you can't beat that.
Comments on YouTube, we got 15.
Y'all had something to say. 15.
I'll skip the emoji ones and the just haze, just
okay,
so that I can get and move on. Someone said provocative AF says, hey, shout out to both of you. Hey yo, Karen, I'm right there with you. I'm angry, pissed, and I don't give a fuck right now. It's been clear they don't give a fuck about us. I gladly play Tuesday for a hamburger today, says Dark Namja.
Come on through, Papa.
Shout out to Klarna. Yoko Triple D, he says, oh, so that's why you had the D's after her name. That makes sense because the graphic did have one of the women had some huge boobs. So it must have been like, do you want to go with this one or you want to go with her Triple D, like these Triple D boobies, I guess. I don't know how bra sizes really work.
There's probably is a
I didn't know Triple D was a size. I felt
but they can go up there. They can get to the J's.
If y'all say so,
ridiculous.
I'm into them. Whatever it is, put it in my veins. Dark Now just says a woman shouldn't be on the NYC subway at 1:00 by herself. I guess 1 a.m. by herself. Emoji. I don't remember what that was about. Cheapness was literally the only thing Subway had going for it. They could be raking in with the $5 footlongs right now, but greed, they can choke, says this user Y814G. Yeah.
Right, because and that's almost like the franchisees, and I don't think some of them might be independently owned. They just don't want to drop them prices, but yet they complain about how people ran away, and people are like, hey dog, it's not good quality. Y'all basically have shit and you smacking it in my sub, you're not slicing and dicing, so then you spent the extra $5 to get the slice and dice of shit, which actually probably made your food costs go up, because that's probably a lot more expensive to keep them meats and shit in there like the motherfucking deli than it is to have that shit come pre-done, and not trying to funny, your food costs and shit probably go up, and probably increase the chance of somebody stealing, because with the shit pre-thing, you could weigh it, but like, hey, we had 10 of these, now we got da-da-da based off the weight, so them owners are like, hey dog, no, and it's like, well, I guess nobody buying this bullshit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Miss T Wash says, first 2 weeks after the election left me angry. I will always have a chip on my shoulder over this for everyone that could have just voted for all of our good but didn't. EMK says, Ozempic, I bet you a lot of it has to do with people on Ozempic because Subway was the one fast food people did to be healthy. I bet their customer demand is going way down, but to them, due to, I guess, people using Ozempic. I don't really.
Oh, because that one.
But wouldn't all the foods go down? Like, because I guess in my mind, the way like Ozempic works is that the more unhealthy the food, the less like it's gonna tolerate it. It makes people use the bathroom, all kinds of stuff. So like, to me, a Subway sandwich, if you were eating them and you were like, I'm not gonna eat it because I'm on Ozempic, it's not like you would then be like, and I'm not gonna, but I will eat McDonald's, right? Or is it they were only eating Subway? I don't know.
Because at one period of times they had a big thing, and I remember a huge promotion on Subway, and it like this may be connected to Jared, I don't know, but they had a big thing on Subway where they was like telling you the ingredients, telling you what was in it, like so that was kind of like the big.
But how do you
promotion.
relate that to Ozempic though? Because to me, I don't think it's like a. Well, I'm on Ozempic now.
Okay, I see what you're saying. No, Ozempic makes
so now
you
I don't
less.
eat Subway. It feel like unless the idea is, I'm working through it as I'm talking. Mm-hmm. Unless the idea is people weren't eating McDonald's, they were eating Subway because it was supposed to be the healthy one.
Right.
Then Ozempic came around and they were like, I'm not even gonna eat Subway anymore because my stomach is full from Ozempic and shit. I'm just gonna, I don't know, eat something else or eat at home. I don't know. But then there's so many other places. Like, is Chopped experiencing these losses? You know, like
that's a good question.
I don't know these other places that are also associated with healthy eating. I don't know. I also think a big thing that hurt them was when people broke down and was like, it's actually not that healthy for you.
Yeah, and
like,
the studies and stuff started coming out, right?
When it was just like, yeah, the bread got sugar in it, this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh, damn. Alicia says, Rod, I hate to ask, but there was a book you read probably during the pandemic. It was about money and wealth. Do you remember it? If so, what is the title? About money and wealth. I don't really read a lot about money and wealth. Oh, it could be. I'm not sure. It could be Poorly Understood, maybe. Because that's the only book I really think I remember reading about, like, the economy. And Poorly Understood isn't really about wealth as much as it's about a bunch of misinformation about poverty in America. Yeah, Poorly Understood, what America gets wrong about poverty, written by Mark Robert Rank, Lawrence M. Eppert, and Heather E. Bullock. But it's about all the myths we have about poverty in America and just dismantling them and getting deeper into them. So when they say stuff like, well, people that come from 2-parent homes aren't poor, and it's like, well, actually, here's why. You take a deeper look into that. That's one, not necessarily true, but it might be a correlation. It might be a correlation, not a causation. And I enjoyed that book. CMH818 says, the question that I ask, where's Jill Stein and Cornel West?
Right.
That's a good ass question.
This is the time that they actually need to be campaigning. That's why I will never take them seriously. I cannot take them seriously, and they annoy me just like the undecided voter. They only show up when it comes close to the time for presidential election. You don't never see them midterm. You don't. We got the mayoral race in New York. How many microphones they putting in people's faces asking them if they're undecided? They're not. Get the fuck out of here.
Let's see. I mean, they were both running as opposition to Biden on Gaza, and now they're nowhere to be seen or heard. Why isn't Jake Tapper writing a book about that? That's it. I said this on Twitter the other day. Why are we having a book about Biden, who did step down?
Right. What the fuck y'all asked him to do?
I would love a book on the Green Party. Like, what do they do? Where do they go? What have they done? What have they achieved? I would love that. What are their connections politically? Who are they tied to? Who are their lobbyists? What is Jill Stein doing in Russia? I want to see that book. That's some investigative journalism.
Yes, it is.
Let's debunk the Green Party myth or prove it. Prove that they are righteous, but do something. It's also frustrating. Thanks you both for your perspective. The girl on the other side of the road said Subway is too expensive for a mediocre sandwich, and Subway bread is real bread. The fake bread thing came from Ireland, where Subway didn't qualify for tax relief because to qualify, the sugar shouldn't exceed 2% of the bread's weight, which is around 1.4 grams. The Subway bread contains around 5 grams of sugar. Ma'am. Now, y'all already done talked about can't lie about chopsticks on the first date. Now you in here calling sugar bread bread, which Karen said is an offhanded joke. Now, see,
I was joking about that.
see, y'all ain't slick, man. I'm gonna break up with you because you live in a house of lies.
Don't
you live in a
break
house
up.
of lies. The girl on the other side of the road. You gonna stay on the other side of the road with the chicken who crossed the road, and we'll never know why.
Nope.
Betancourt is a Spanish name, says Coqui Negra.
Nope.
Douglas Petway says Arby's was part of the $5 craze. LOL. They used to have 5 for $5 roast beef sandwiches. Now it's 4 for $10. Damn, inflation. Jason says, damn, man, I hope someday we can live in a world where the politics until we are happy segment, we won't, and there's
I wish
we will never. I hope. You know what, I'm gonna let you speak it into existence. I want that, Jason.
Me too. That would be great. We come on here and every day is like the best news ever. Yes, please.
And these fast food restaurant stories are becoming a staple. They could almost have their own segment, the fast food fuckery or ketchup packet chronicles. Ha. Thanks, buddy. Oh, man. The poll was, have you ever used government assistance programs? Because they're cutting them down. 70% of the audience has.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
And 31% have not. And I would bet if some of y'all, and this isn't poorly understood, by the way, the book, some of y'all, actually the answer is yes, and you don't even know it.
I'm about to say that. You're right.
Because one of the things it talked about in Poorly Understood was how many people actually, as children, receive government assistance through either their parents or their programs, and their parents hide it from them.
Yes.
Like there's people who their parents had food stamps, but they didn't want their kids to see it because of the stigma about food stamps.
And they didn't want them to get picked on.
And,
right.
and all kinds of myths we have about poverty of like, if your kid know that you on food stamps, they're going to grow up and be on food stamps.
And years ago, it used to be dollars. They didn't have like debit cards and stuff like they do now.
And so a lot of people don't know because the parents are either ashamed or trying to break the cycle and they hide it. So I would bet it's even higher than 70%.
I agree. And as somebody was on like free and reduced lunch and all that stuff, I know for a fact that I got assistance and got like checks and things like that, and it helped out the household tremendously because my aunt that raised me, she was basically a single mom. And, 40 starting all over again because I was her sister's child, and so she chose to come and adopt me. And so she worked like 2 jobs, so she consistently worked all the time, the bulk of her life. And the thing about it is, like you say, what's funny about the assistance in America is very strange. Every time you get paid, they take this shit out of your checks. They take it. You don't get an option, nor do you get a choice. But they make you fucking feel bad for going and get the shit that you deserved and you pulled out of. Like, I invested in this. If I lose my job, the fuck yes, I want my unemployment. If something happens to me, yes, I do want my assistance because I don't get to opt in or out of this. You take this. It's automatically deducted before I see a motherfucking dime of this. But we're so ass backwards here in this country that we'll go, yeah, we know you invested in it, but we want you to feel bad for taking what's owed to you.
I was on unemployment. So there you go.
I've been on it too.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people, and the thing is, there's no shame in it. One of the things that has happened in America because of whiteness, white supremacy, capitalism, whatever reason you want to put, we have associated needing government assistance and the government as like this separate entity. The government is community.
That's his whole job.
The government is what community is supposed to look like when it's doing the right stuff. That's all the government really is. We talk about the government like it's some third thing that came down and aliens descended upon us and put it in place. The government is supposed to be made up of us. It's one of the reasons that we should not run away from stuff. We should, like, the reason I don't run away from the idea of I'm a Democrat, I vote Democrat, is because I demand that they also represent me and do the things I would like them to do, and that my voice be heard. Whereas if you say I'm not part of anything, right, then why the fuck should I listen to you? You ain't part of shit. You don't. It don't matter to you. You're on your own. You're doing your own research, you maverick. No. Part of this is that we're beholden to each other. Part of this is coalition building. It's not every person for themselves, or it shouldn't be. But if we allow everyone to feel like they're such an individual and that the government is this thing that just came out of nowhere, like a business or some shit, you end up with what we have now, where they're cutting on these programs and they're running them like businesses and they're firing people and they're doing all this shit. And when at the end of the day, government is supposed to be like, hey, you fell down, here's a safety net. That's it. Help you get back on your feet.
Yes, and you are only as poor as a country as how you treat your least fortunate. And in this country, these safety nets were there for a reason, because in other countries they do not have these safety nets. It just does not exist. Okay, and so you lose your job, bitch, you on your own. You know, something happened to you, you become disabled, or you have mental breakdown, you can't work, bitch, you on your own. You don't have all these options. And the thing about the government, but here in America, people take the government for granted. The government has a function. I believe in paying taxes. I know people say, but I believe in paying taxes because we all benefit from paying taxes. Most of everybody that lives in the United States that's underneath the sound of my voice went to public school, taxes. You went to libraries, taxes. Your roads are paved, taxes. You know, if some, you know, and regardless of how you feel about police officers, fire department, all that shit, these services, taxes.
Well, part of the reason that we should feel like the police need to do what we want as a community is that we pay taxes.
Right.
They're not a private organization. They need to be beholden to the community, you know? So anyway, it's just weird when people talk about the government in those terms of like,
right.
They just came out of nowhere. It's like, right. What?
And also, because being black in America and the history we've been through and how I feel, the government and people paying taxes into it is the only thing that's preventing certain harm from happening to people. Some things will happen to you regardless, you know, but people fail to realize all the hanging and the lynching and all that shit. The government had to step in and make rules and make laws and make legislation that says you can't do this shit.
We have voicemails, but first, a little bit of musical interlude and we'll come right back. All right, we got a couple voicemails. Let's get into them real quick. I think the first one's from, I don't know who it's from.
Hey, Rod and Karen. This is Kyra from Boston.
Oh,
this
Kyra.
is my first time leaving a voicemail. Figured I'd graduate. I've been an avid listener for about 8 or 9 years now. So here is a 9-year-old review, basically, of the show.
Hey!
I want to start with, I don't know what episode number it is, but the episode was called Hentai. It was from maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Karen, girl.
Yes?
You okay? You know, not to get too personal, but, what y'all be doing? Because that's what you into, girl? Like, okay, I just want to let you know, Karen, I personally am traumatized. First of all, I'm not a porn person to begin with, so I was already a little bit taken aback. I didn't know that's what it was. But to see that it's that type of girl. And then I think I'm getting low on time. I want to just highlight this episode. It's like maybe 7 years old. The Guess the Race, where you guys did that little boy at McDonald's that was getting a tattoo. Hilarious. If y'all could reread that story for like the new members, hilarious. I think they would get a great laugh. I think about that and have a nice little chuckle every couple years. Last thing, a suggestion for the show. So I've been thinking about this for a while. What if you guys did like a fan episode where you guys invite, or like do a raffle or something like that, where you would invite a fan, listener of the show to be a guest. And maybe this is like a once or twice a year thing, and like all the proceeds will go to a charity of you guys' choosing. But yeah, I think I've just been thinking about that. I'd love to hear from some of the listeners. I know Apia, she's writes in every week. Sean, Shoe Booty. Anyway, I love to maybe hear some of these people on the show who consistently write in or get picked or whatever it is. But anyway, I love listening to you guys. Great show. 10 stars out of 5. Keep doing what y'all doing.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Karen. You go first.
No, I'm about to say I started laughing when you talk about hentai. I probably talked about that a while ago, but yeah,
it was on episode 2463. Hentai is king, I believe, from 2021.
Hell, you went back in archives for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know like shit like that exists, but it does. And I've been on like I won't say the dark side of the web, but I go deep. I go deep. And so it was just hilarious, and I'm glad that it made you chuckle.
I was gonna say the hentai thing is funny because it's just a cartoon.
That's all it is, a cartoon.
But it is. I mean, it's out there, but we don't kink shame on this podcast, okay? Whatever two consenting animated people want to do,
decide to do, as long as it's consenting.
Whatever roles they want to play with
however they draw them.
Consensual non-consent, that is between them and their God.
However many tentacles are involved.
What we won't do is judge here. And then as for the, I don't remember the story about the boy getting a tattoo at McDonald's. That does sound funny,
hilarious. But
I can't guarantee that we do it again and be as funny because I don't remember it from the first time. And then the last thing is the raffle to have guests, to have a fan be a guest on the show. That actually does sound like a pretty cool idea. I don't know how to execute that idea.
Me either.
The only part of the idea I don't like is that the money would go to charity. If we did that, the money would go to us. I'm absolutely keeping that money. Okay, fuck them kids. We are just investing it back into this show to keep making the show better and better for y'all. But I don't know how to do an auction type listing for something like that. I don't know what that,
what that entails. Yeah,
and
I'm pretty
if it would be something where it's like, like you said, this year you can be a guest, but like the bidding starts now and you got till this day and all this stuff. But I don't know. I'll think about it. It's not a bad idea at all. Because honestly, I think our fans, we could do it. I don't think we have like the kind of fans where I'd be like, get the fuck off my show. God damn. That's who be listening?
No.
Like maybe they'd be nervous or something, or maybe they wouldn't be as entertaining as they think they would be. But I think me and Karen could, we'd figure it out.
Oh yeah, we make you feel comfortable, baby.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way. And maybe we have them, you can request like a guest of your choosing and all that type of stuff. Matter of fact, Keith and the girls done stuff like that before.
They have.
With their Kickstarter. They used to do like an annual Kickstarter, and some of the prizes would be like,
you could pick a guest lineup.
Hey, you can be a guest on here. You can be a guest with your favorite guest. You can pick what guests go on the show. Which I always thought was so dope. I don't have the brain and the time to do the organizing like they've done it, but I mean, I'm sure it's possible. But
yes,
shout out to Hemda because she was like a beast at that shit.
Wouldn't she though?
And but it's not a bad idea at all.
No.
And I'll definitely think about it.
Right.
All right, next voicemail.
Hey y'all, this is Simone. Hope y'all doing great. I've been meaning to call in for a while. It's been so busy over here with me, but and I'm finally catching up to episodes. I'm at the Chris Lambert one. But I just wanted to give y'all props about how great of an interview that y'all are. You've had some great guests and y'all really, I would have thought each person was like a long time friend of y'all if you didn't say And then you're always asking questions because I usually don't get to watch live or anything and be in the chat. But you ask questions, you and Karen ask questions that I'm thinking about. Even when you have the dermatologist on, I was like, oh, Karen asked the question I was thinking in my head. And then that Black Capitalist episode, I was like, oh, this would be a great moment to to play the Black Capitalism song. And then you did later in the episode. And I was like, oh, look. It's like, they're all in my head. And then, Karen.
Yes.
Yes. Be your Southern Belle self. Bougie and country are not mutually exclusive. My husband, he often calls me princess. Sometimes he says a little attitude in there, but I'm just like, yeah, this is what you signed up for. I am a Southern princess. It's like, I can pick up lizards and toss them out my sunroom without squealing, and walk on gravel barefoot, but I still have very soft feet, and I still love fancy things and soft fabrics and the finest of everything. I said, this is what you signed up for. And then I love y'all. I'm not finished with the Chris Lemmer episode, but you teaching him how to rizz up women was hilarious. And then when you mentioned Ron Funches, I was dying because I love Ron Funches. I think he's hilarious.
He is.
But when you said about his voice, I was like, oh, what if he does that voice for his autistic son? I was like, and then he just kept it for comedy, and maybe that isn't his real voice. But either way, I'm going to go back and finish the episode. And I love you guys. Bye-bye.
Oh, you too.
You too.
I would be absolutely crushed if I railed up on Ron Funches and he talked regular. I would be crushed. Real talk. I'm not prepared for it. Like, if I see Ron Funches at the grocery store and I'm like, oh, shit, Ron Funches, what's up, man? And he turned around and was like, what's going on, my nigga? I'll be like, oh, come on, Ron Funches. Is anything real in this life?
And everything he in, I love, too.
I need him to talk like that. Like, what's going on, Ron? I'm like, yes, Ron Funches, that's it. That's that shit.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm sure he get tired of people being like, can you make a video for my Instagram real quick? But I love that dude. I don't have that. But I also don't walk around with the weight of black men need to be represented in a certain light. Like, none of that shit works for me. So, like, because I feel like there's a very slippery slope to, like, I don't like when I see gay black men in TV shows and shit like that. I'm just like, yeah, that's just because you homophobic. It really ain't that deep.
Right.
And then the other thing he said was, oh yeah, Karen and the being herself. She's always gonna be herself. So I love that about her. She shows up,
even to a fault.
She shows up as her wherever we're at, and part of my job or whatever is to make sure that she's allowed to be that way everywhere.
Thank you.
Because it's like and including up to ordering macaroni and cheese on hot dogs. If that's what she want, then she gonna get it. And if not, then she should read the menu.
Right?
All right, y'all. We got voice emails, and that's the last thing. Let me I think I've been using the same beats from the same person. Let me pull up a different one.
Rotate around.
Yeah.
Psycho.
Music.
Wow, that was a good one, Psycho Music. What was that one called? Play It Again. All right, cool. We got three emails. Sid writes in, our girl. It's taking me time to be okay with Tyler Perry's content and to even understand the lens he is viewing black womanhood through. With that being said, the situation with the text messages feels much more like an outing than asking for accountability. It's so interesting on how solid our realities are, or sort of. My timeline, or I guess different. My timeline is joking about the gay aspect, but very clearly stating they weren't going for the allegations. Yeah, and like, dog, I know it's because I'm a straight black man, and a lot of the algorithm and the people whose content I see and whose posts I see are also straight black men, and that doesn't mean that this is their opinion, but the algorithm is serving me stuff where it's like, look at this podcast. it's not a podcast I follow.
Right.
Or look at this comment and it's,
but it'll float into your purview. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like a lot of ignorance still festering and fostering and profiting in the world right now. I just happen to try not to engage in it. So a lot of times I can be like a little bit siloed off from it. And it just keeps me from seeing the impact of how big it is, because I'm over here in my own world of like, I'm not paying attention to Joe Budden and all this shit. And then later you see like on the timeline, like, well, that clip of his podcast got 17 million views. Oh, that's because he's a huge deal and I'm the one who's, you know, not paying attention. Anyway, all that to say, I saw so many like dudes that were just willing to believe he did it, or they were, you know, joking about it, as you said, about him being gay, but they were not concerned about the allegations. And the only reason they associated him being a predator was actually gay men are predators in their minds, not, oh, these allegations, these text messages, clearly Tyler Perry did this stuff. It's more like oh, he gay, so, you know, I'm not gonna make that full-throated defense like listen, did it just a freak? Okay, hey, he just, so what? Now you can't fly a girl out? I guess we all sex trafficking. None of that shit was on the timeline anymore. So really, that's more what was missing. It's more what was missing than what was being said. It was like, normally y'all, a prominent black rich man accused of something, y'all can't wait to be like, he ain't do it no matter how damning the evidence is.
Yes, sir.
This is not that damning of evidence of sexual assault. And yet, I ain't see all that, you know, he was trying to buy NBC bullshit. All right. The thing that is so sad to me is there's clearly a closet generation of black people who don't feel they have the autonomy within blackness to live, work, and create as their true selves. This is not just Tyler Perry or Diddy, it's Queen Latifah, The Brat. The list expands far beyond the entertainment industry. We could even get started on the black church and some of its leaders. I'm talking radical thinkers speaking like with presidents and world leaders on behalf of black people, taking their own lives to avoid allegations. And I don't say that allegedly. I say that as a family member who knows firsthand. Yeah, that homophobia is real, and it's what will happen. And I don't talk like this, and I don't like when people talk like this. But and I know they think it's coming from a good place, but I don't think it is. But they start doing this thing where they fuss at the people who are in the closet, like, get out the closet.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you? Get out the closet. And I'm like, we aren't making outside the closet safe enough to be yelling at anybody to jump out.
Right.
You turn the voice around, yell at the people outside the closet and be like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Stop. Like, why are we palling around with Lil Boosie?
Right.
Why are you sharing any of his memes or any of the things he ever says in any sort of affectionate way? That man is an out and out bigot. And holding him up as a tent pole of the community while also yelling at Tyler Perry like, why you got to be in the closet, is just sending a mixed message that is very damaging. Either we stand for this shit or you go, actually, I do understand why you in the closet. It's tough out here. Do what you need to do to survive. Come out if you feel like it or don't. That ain't my business.
Not my business.
Either pick a lane, because I feel like people do this thing where we chastise people for surviving. Like, well, these are the choices I had to make to survive. I don't think I get to be Tyler Perry and gay. I don't think I get to be Queen Latifah and gay. Like, that's how people feel. Now, maybe they're wrong, but we haven't shown them that they're wrong. We haven't done the work to be like, okay, Queen Latifah, you say that, but look at blank example of this huge prominent gay rapper, and they never had to be in the closet, so maybe you just need to let it go. No, we actually don't have a counterfactual. Everybody a motherfucking test case. Everybody the first. You know what I mean?
Yes, they are.
As the larger system, and of course, obviously, you could just be a private person. It might not even have to be.
Yeah,
but my point being, like,
some people
we
are
know,
like, I just don't like my shit being public. They are straight people like that, but
Right.
they don't get the same criticism.
but we know the environment, and then we blame the people.
Right.
As the larger system of white supremacy tries to eradicate queerness, black people have to decide where they're going to stand in that, and we're going to stand on that publicly, professionally, and spiritually. We got to. Obviously, we won't know the outcome in his scenario anyone else until it's proven in a court of law. I just find it funny that someone's sexuality is either salacious or adorable, depending on the person.
Right.
But the through line of their outing or calling in the black tradition is that same homophobia and transphobia that potentially kept them from sharing the truth in the first place.
Right, and at the end of the day, for most people, it is a form of entertainment. Like, I don't mean no harm. Like, they don't care about the individual person. They don't care about the victim. They don't care about the circumstances of the situation. They actually do not care. They're not even going to be concerned about the outcome of this, if he's guilty or not.
Agreed.
It is a form of entertainment, and when it comes to sex and sexuality, that's that real that people just, all my shit is private. What I do behind the door is private, but what you do, I get to pick at, I get to laugh at, I get to criticize, I get to tell you what's wrong with it.
Thank you, Sid. Clyde writes in, just a note to the best podcast. I want to keep it short. 1, I am dating myself probably, but in reference to which side the gas tank should be on, do y'all remember when the gas tank was behind the license plate and you had to flip it down? I don't. I probably didn't have that model of car.
I don't think if
you flipped the license plate down and put the gas in the back.
I've seen those vehicles before. I don't think none of my family members ever owned one, but I seen them. I'm like, the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
2, I don't think they make them like that no more.
2, I love when you all have guests on the show. You do a wonderful job of balancing the guests with the show format. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And sometimes it's a guest and sometimes it's like an interview. And that's what I meant to say. Thank you, Amon, for your comments about our interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the encouragement to Karen, because, you know, I always am trying to encourage Karen to get involved in the interviews, because she'll kind of sit on the sideline like it's double dutch and not hop in when it's just like, no, you just hop in. There's never gonna be a perfect
time,
moment.
right?
And you know,
I get in my head. I'm getting a lot better, but I really do think the one with the dermatologist, because I was excited. Like, I was like, you told me to be prepared, and I was, but I was over prepared.
We ran out of time.
Yeah,
Karen had more questions, which is fine. That's the best way to be.
Okay.
Like, I've ended interviews where I definitely had more questions, but the hour was up. But that is much better to do that than to be like, let me just sit there. And it was great that you did that. And, you know, I encourage it, and I'll be the metronome and figure out how to get us in and out of the show on time. But,
okay.
You know.
Okay, but yeah, because like particularly with that, because like I said, those are some of the questions were questions that I've had for like a very long time. I know it sounds stupid, but particularly, can you get dandruff in your eyebrow? I've always wondered that, and the answer to their question apparently is yes.
Yeah, and whatever your question is, whatever you were thinking, somebody was thinking, and it's important that you ask questions, because I would have never asked that. I didn't think it. I didn't know it. I didn't know to ask it. I wasn't curious about it. And someone hit me up afterwards to be like, a bunch of people was like, those are great questions. I also was thinking this. In the chat, you see people bringing up like, yeah, that's a good question. So like, it's important that it's not just I'm not just saying it to be nice. It's important that you contribute when we have a guest on and you have questions, because I can't think of or cover neither one of us can,
right?
But we'll get it between both of us, and that's what makes the show unique.
Yes.
And plus, I don't want it to be like every time we schedule an interview, I'm like, maybe we shouldn't, because it's going to turn into me and the guest, and then Karen's just sitting there for an hour. I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be like all of us are saying shit.
Right. And so, like I said, I'm going to try my best to be a lot more proactive in that perspective, like you say. And sometimes it's one of the things when a person's talking, I might think of something. So, like, I got like a pad here, a physical pad. Y'all can't see it. Where I write, shit down and start being more kind of attentive that way. So I can go back and kind of ask the questions that kind of come along. Because as people talk, sometimes they don't realize that they'll say something kind of spark your mind to be like, hey, let me see if we can go further. And we might go down a completely different avenue than we had planned to, based off of their statements, because sometimes they might say something that's quote unquote might be vague, and somebody else might be like, hey, I want to know more about that, or that's an interesting question. So yeah, and I thank you very much, Iman, because and the person is writing, because that kind of encourages me to ask more questions and delve more deeply into things, because like as the time goes on, we probably will have more guests. So yes.
3, I'm conflicted. As much as I hate commercials and love hearing you read 5-star reviews, I love the fact that those extra commercials where I was playing added money to your pockets. But I left a review anyway. Black power emoji. Stay encouraged and keep up the excellent work, Clyde in Atlanta. Thank you, Clyde. And yeah, dog, like, don't even worry about the commercials are not commercials, like that was mostly a joke, although I think that might be a running thing. Every time we don't get 5-star reviews, I'm gonna put commercials in there. But I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
We do. Thank you.
It's so funny, man. Y'all guys are so nice and y'all care so much, because y'all really be like writing in like, should I listen to the commercials or skip them? Like, what should I listen to commercials on Apple or Spotify?
Yeah. Which one y'all get? I don't know.
I'm like, I have never thought about these things or listen to somebody's podcast. I'll be like, oh, it's an ad, skip, or it's an ad. Okay, let it play.
To it, yes.
Like, I've never been like, should I go listen to the
Y'all
ad
be
directly at your
concerned.
house? Should I go to?
Right.
Should I go by your house and give you $3?
Should I put a flagpole up to be sure
Right.
I get the right signal? Oh, thank y'all for caring.
Black people, man, y'all be caring.
Yes, y'all do.
Lastly, why so many black-owned restaurants failed? This is from, let's see, it says S.K. Smith. Greetings, Brother Roderick. Not sure if it matters, but this is Smitty. Oh, from Karen Hunter Show. Yeah.
Hey, baby.
The rich dude. I mean, I say rich, but I mean, he got a movie theater in his house and all kinds of shit. I was just on the air with you today, Karen Hunter Show, Foolish Friday. Yep, it's him. It was an honor to cut up with you guys. I wanted to ask you this question, but of course my time ran out. Why do so many black-owned restaurants fail? Maybe you've discussed this before on your podcast, or so forgive my ignorance. But it's an issue that I believe needs addressing. I do understand the restaurant business is very difficult, but I also believe with more conversation, we can hopefully gain more knowledge and ultimately have more success. Regards, S.K. Smith. I'm gonna be real with you, Smitty. I don't know 100%,
but I can tell you my kind of speculations. A lot of time with a lot of black-owned businesses, we don't get the capital. A lot of times, on a certain situation, we're not approved for loans or approved for as much as we can. Like, you know, a lot of people, particularly with like food trucks and shit like this, they say they can have like A1 top of the line credit and get denied by bank after bank after bank. Like, you hear a lot of black and brown people consistently complain about not getting the capital. And for a lot of black-owned businesses, a lot of times they kind of start from the ground. Like, they kind of start cooking out of their house. And then it kind of gets to the point where they be like, hey, I might need to start claiming taxes on this. This is going to be a problem. The government going to step in, and then they have to go through that. But even then, it's still the barriers of becoming an LLC. Like, it is a lot of cost that comes into it. And a lot of times people have a tendency to go food truck versus like physical store, because physical store, the rent, it is a lot of, it can be cost prohibitive. But I think the biggest thing is capital. People just not having the capital and the means to do the things that they desire to do.
Yep. I think Karen nailed it. I think the answer is almost always going to be racism in America. I will never get into the respectability thing of like dissing black people and acting like there's some intrinsic cultural deficit that we are operating with that white people don't have, right. Such as like, well, if black people would do this, I don't think that's the problem. I don't even think it's if black people would frequent black owned restaurants more often. I think we often are the main clientele of black owned restaurants, and definitely know white people don't ever have a problem eating our food ever.
Nope, because it's been places where they outnumber us.
Well, many of them grew up on it.
Yes, they did.
Many of them made us make it. So we know that's not the problem. I think everything Karen said, just the access to capital, the access to generational wealth, the ability to fail and then come back and fail and come back like many white and other restaurants are able to do.
File for bankruptcy. A lot of them do that. Some successful businesses this multiple times, and then they finally hit it.
And the fact that we don't necessarily have the cultural hegemony, is that what it's called? Whatever. We don't have that thing where, like, for example, if you're Korean and you come to a place where there's another country, there's a Korean community that is seen as like one community, and it's like, you need to join up to this. the place we eat, this is the place we eat. We don't actually eat the food that the white people eat and the other people eat
No,
when
they
come
do
in.
not. We learned that.
Yeah, we just like that's a different experience that often people use as a cudgel against black people in America because we have a diaspora. It's not just a unified one type of way to be black or one thing. And I would highly doubt that it's one way in all these other cultures as well. But like for some reason, it's kind of weaponized against us that it's not just all the same thing. Whereas I think if you come to a foreign country and set up, you may have a few more tent poles within your culture to be like, hey, this is where we eat. This is the business we have to support. We need to make sure this thing works. And I know that for us, we're from here, but not really sometimes. You know, we're together, but not really sometimes. So I don't know that we have that like the mandate to be like everyone has to support this black business. Plus there's a lot of them and all that stuff. But yeah, I think the simple answer is racism. Wish it was something sexier than that, but I pretty much don't think it is.
Right. I wish it was a lot deeper than that. Like I said, as somebody who have, like I said, read the articles, seen the articles, and you know, and people like didn't know how to do the work, do the reporting, and be like, oh, okay, you know, this business, particularly during the pandemic and things like that, a lot of black businesses failed, restaurants failed during the pandemic because they didn't get the funds because other people stealing them, and so a lot of them, you know, kind of went under because of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, even during the pandemic, there's a very big misperception of what happened. During those PPP loans, black businesses only received 2% of those loans. White businesses received 83%. So even then, when that time we think of like Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, we're investing in black businesses, black ownership. But the face of the failures, the face of the malfeasance, a lot of times ends up being blackness, even though that's not what happened. Black people aren't the face of the grifters. The black people shouldn't be the face of the people that took the loans and failed somehow. 83%, and who knows how many of those white people still failed with that access to that capital, because like you said, having a restaurant is hard, even period, just in general, too. Just as an undertaking. So anyway, that's what I think happened, and that's what we think happened. That's it for this episode. I don't know how much we'll do this week. I was even thinking of possibly even taking the whole week off because we don't have any guests scheduled. But we may pop in and do an episode or two this week. And then I think next Sunday we have Shalewa and Gastor on as guests next Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
That'll be fun.
Not tomorrow, but the first one in July. So if you guys are fans of the War Report like we are, that'll be a fun episode. So we look forward to that. Until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody.